Om Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean, and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust raging furiously within. O name, stream down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself. O self, drown deep in the waves of his bliss, chanting his name continually, tasting his nectar at every step, bathing in his name, that bath for weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord, and each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy. How huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than the blade of grass. Be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself. Give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue, the playthings of lust or the toys of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy, consider him as dust beneath thy feet. Ah, how I long for the day when an instant separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns away with its desire, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet, let me be in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O thou, who stealest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, for thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. Today is an auspicious day called Akshaya Tritiya. The implication is that whatever you do today will be long-lasting. Imperishable is the word. We're going to contemplate the life of Sri Shankaracharya. As the topic has said, the spiritual Colossus. Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram. I bow down at the feet of Shankara, who is a blessing for humanity, who is the abode of all the scriptures comprising of the Shruti, Vedas, Smritis, logic, etc., and the mythology, and who is compassionate. There is a dispute about his exact date of birth. Some place him at 700 Common Era, some 733 of the Common Era. He lived for about 32 years, and he shook the world of philosophy and religion and everything. There comes a time when some saint comes and becomes an index, a measure of things, of philosophy, of spirituality, of realization, everything. And here is kind of intellectuality. And then you find yourself, my God, what am I? And this has been there for a very long time. He was really a Colossus. Swami Vivekananda says, in Shankaracharya, we saw a tremendous intellectual power throwing the scorching light of reason upon everything. We want that bright sun of intellectuality. This. He also says about Shankaracharya, Advaita saved India twice from materialism. The first time was during the time of Buddha, saying, before the Buddha came, materialism had spread to a fearful extent, and it was the most hideous kind. Not at the present day. We talk about present day materialism, this is nothing. But far worse. I am a materialist in the certain sense because I believe there is one. But what the materialist wants you to believe, only he calls it matter, and I call it God. So Buddha brought Vedanta to the people and saved India. And then saying, when Buddhism spread, the mobs and the masses, they bought all their various superstitions. And then saying, then Shankaracharya arose and once more revivified Vedanta philosophy. He made it a rationalistic philosophy. In the Upanishads, the arguments are often very obscure. By Buddha, the moral side of the philosophy was laid stress upon, and by Shankaracharya, the intellectual side. He worked out, rationalized, and placed before humanity the wonderful coherent system of Advaita. This is, in short, Shankaracharya. He is called Adi Shankaracharya. Adi is the first because he started a tradition of Shankaracharya. Acharya is a teacher, not ordinary teacher, but we consider him as on the level of an incarnation. And yeah, it's very strange that he was born in a small village in what is today Kaladi in Kerala. And there was a river, Purna, Periyar River. His parents were orthodox. As they were saying, he was born in the Namudri Brahmin family. His father was Shiva Guru, his mother was Aryamba. They were childless for years and years. And they used to pray for a son. And they prayed, obviously, to Shiva. And one day, his mother had a vision of Shiva blessing her. And the legend says, okay, do you want a son who is bright and short-lived, or dull and long-lived? Obviously, the mother will say, I want a bright kid. But she never realized how short-lived it would be. 16 years. But anyway, the die was cast and they got a son. Now this little child, he showed exceptional, you can say, traits. There were divine signs on it. You know, when somebody is born, there are these signs on the body, indicative of great success, great spirituality. So this child was a prodigy, a genius. And to teach, it's nice to have a child prodigy and all, but it's very difficult to handle them. You ask nowadays parents how they try to handle the smart kids. So he was born and then he grew up in the village. There was a village school and he mastered the Vedas, which takes lifetimes in a few years. By the time he was 4 or 5, he had mastered the Vedas. And not only the Vedas, to study the Vedas, you need ancillary scriptures. He had mastered them also. So he was educated in the old Vedic style of, you can say, teaching. You memorize and then later on the teacher will give you the meaning of what you've memorized. So it's a huge corpus of literature. This child had done it. And moreover, he was trained also by his mother because his father passed away when the child was about 6. The legend says that there was always the embodiment of knowledge and an embodiment of death, which nobody could see, but they always used to accompany him. So he was born and you're studying. And there's a movie also. I mean, it's remarkable how these old style teachings and you can say life was. He was a stickler for truth. And when he was invested with the sacred thread, that is now initiated formally into spiritual life. And at a very young age, generally it was done at 8 or 9. So he got it, he's an advanced student, he got it early. And one of the ritual is you have to beg for your food, your first food from people. And he had been requisitioned by a very old widow. And she says, I want to offer you the first alms. And she was of a different caste. So he agreed. His parents tried to prevail upon him and he wasn't going to budge, saying, I have spoken the truth and I'm going to receive the first alms from them, from her. And he did that. He also was cognizant of the social, you can say, inequalities during that time. And he tried to make things easy for the poor people. He used to go to the rich people, and it was a kind of prestige for them to receive these students who used to come to beg alms. And they had to eat only one meal a day, unlike us. We eat one meal a day and study the Vedas. And you can't eat anything after sundown. What do? You meditate and study. That was your life. There's a monk, a friend of mine. He was born in those traditions, saying, I tell you, it was torture. When you are young, 2 or 3 years old, they'll wake you up early in the morning, make you have a bath, cold bath, and then start studying the Vedas, the grammar first. Oh my God. And then you study grammar, and then after you've studied grammar, then you study the Vedas, memorize it. So looking back, he's saying he was a torture. But of course, he was a little, as I saying, frivolous. But he's got that depth that we get from discipline. So they used to spend the entire day, morning, studying, memorizing, and meditating. And then they used to go out in the afternoon to beg their food. Come. And if you don't get food, no problem. You go hungry. You don't have to think, what's going to happen to me? So they used to return, eat, return, and then again study. And then meditate, etc., etc., etc. Now, with the increase of knowledge, people ask you, why did you become a monk? I said, what? It's a very difficult question. So Shankaracharya, he wanted to become a monk at a young age only. His mother was unwilling, saying, who look after me? So the increase of spiritual knowledge will automatically make you a monk. There's no doubt about it. So we look at likely candidates and then it's saying, increase your spiritual knowledge, automatically you will become a monk. His mother's unwilling, and he loved her very much because she was the only one now. He had the other relatives. Today, a center in Kaladi, they say that it is established, the temple is established on the very spot that he was born. So one day, both the mother and son had gone down to bathe in the river. And the legend says a crocodile comes and snatches him and tries to drag him down. And then he's fighting the crocodile. So he tells his mother, let me die a monk. Free me. So otherwise I'll die here. The crocodile will drag me down. So she says, okay. And then the crocodile miraculously let go of his foot. And so he said, now, there it's done. And she was trying to argue with him, and arguing with a boy like this, good luck to you. So he started, he started his long, you can say, march in search of a guru. And he walked about 1,500 miles, right from about 1,000, from Kaladi, Kerala, right up to the Omkareshwar, which is in central India, on the banks of the Narmada. And he went there, you can say, the river wasn't spate. He sang a hymn and calmed the river. He had tremendous powers. And then he entered a cave. His insight told him that his guru was waiting for him. And his guru was waiting for him for a few centuries. How? He was established in Samadhi. He went into Samadhi and then waiting for his future disciple. And then when the child enters the cave and he sees Guru in Samadhi, he sings a hymn. And his hymns today, we grew up singing his hymns. Oh my God. And they are everywhere. So his Guru descends from that state of Samadhi, and he is very pleased. So he was the disciple of Gauda Padacharya, who wrote the gloss on the Mandukya Upanishad. So his guru was Govinda Padacharya. And then he studied the scriptures, they have different layers. You have to get down to the mystical level of the scriptures. Otherwise, you will not. We read translations and, oh, wonderful. No, it's nothing like that. It is secret knowledge. So it's not given to everybody to penetrate. So you have to have a guru who can teach you to go down and in the scriptures and learn. So this is what had happened. He taught him, and he saw the student was brilliant. He said, now that you have studied, you go out and preach. And he was about 10 or 11 years old. And he walked all across India in those days. And by that time, Buddhism had decayed and it was crumbling and it was bringing down the entire society. Because what happens is, they had got into the tantras. Today's tantras are nothing but it's a descendant of Buddhism. So he had to clean up the mess. The whole structure was going to collapse. And he used to debate with the Buddhists, the Jains, and as well as other philosophies also. And slowly his name and all spread. If you want to pit yourself against somebody like him, go and see what it is like. So he established the real meaning of the Upanishads and the Vedas. He used like his intellectual prowess to defeat his opponents. His spirituality was, there's no shade of doubt. And all through, we find him, he had promised his mother, however, that at the time of your death, I will arrive here to help you transition. And he was somewhere in North India and he understood his mother was going to pass away. And he returned. Now, legends, they say he took a yogic, you can say, path. That is, they transferred himself from this one location to another. That is done in yoga. So he arrived at his hometown, in his village, and his mother was dying. So he sang a hymn, and that hymn was to Krishna, and she had a vision of Krishna. She saw Krishna and she passed away. That is liberation. Now, Orthodox society, and that was, 8th century, it was highly Orthodox. India was politically stable during that time because there was Harshavardhan's dynasty. So he's saying, you are a monk, you cannot have any kind of rituals now. You can't cremate your mother. This is cremation. So he fought against that orthodoxy also. He changed the rules. And yet the people aren't willing. Saying you got to take the body to the cremation grounds and all. He's saying, I'm going to cremate my mother here if you're going to oppose me. And he did that. So that's a long story. But today's, you can say, and he had the power to change the rules. And he changed the rules, I tell you. Modern Hinduism is his creation, nothing else. He brought all the philosophies and all the streams of, you can say, traditions together. People ask me, what the Ramakrishna order? Yeah, we are the descendant of his reorganization. So he started the Dasnami Sampradaya. That is the 10 numbered, you can say, denomination of monks. So we belong to the one branch, that's a Puri branch. So he reorganized it. People go for Kumbh Mela and all. He started it. People do puja. He has done it. People sing hymns and this and that. He has done it. And he brought all these things together just by the force of his spirituality and his convincing arguments. And not that he was unopposed. India's best scholars in various shades used to debate with him. Yeah. For instance, there was a great scholar called Mandana Mishra. He had to debate with, he held the view of the earlier sections of the Vedas. That is only, you can get liberation by doing these very rituals, etc., the fire sacrifices. And so for 3 days, Shankaracharya debated. And the challenge was, they were both wearing a flower garland. One whose flower garlands start withering away earliest is defeated. So as the debate went on. They found that Mandana Mishra's flower garland was getting stale and getting withered. So he lost. His wife was saying, well, the man is only half. He's complimented by the wife. So you got to defeat me now. And then there was another 3 days of debate. And they say that she was an incarnation, partial incarnation of Saraswati. And once he broke you can say, the resistance of these main, you can say, proponents of those philosophies. And his rules was straight. Either when I beat you in an argument or in a dialogue, either you come on my side or you perish. He gave them no third choice. You come on my side, the Vedic side, or... So Kumarila Bhatta, there was a great scholar who used this very thing against the Buddhistic philosophers. He was part of that great wave which was reclaiming back the Vedas from the hands of the Buddhism. There was not Buddhism in the strict sense that we know it today. It was part of the entire religious atmosphere. So he went to Kumarila Bhatta and then he says, I want to debate with you. And he's saying, too late. I've already decided, because I was responsible for indirectly killing so many Buddhists. So I'm going to expiate all those sins. And he was buried neck deep in husk. And the fire was lit on the fringes. And slowly the fire will consume him. So Shankaracharya had gone during that time. He said, okay, you go and debate all these and carry on my work. And he did that. So a lot of Buddhists had either run away from India or they had converted them back to Hinduism. Not Hinduism in the sense of the Vedic religion. He went around temples and, you can say, pilgrimage places and all these things, getting people all together. He created a huge movement. It's just impossible to just think about in those days. And he used to walk barefoot and walked all over India. Well, so some of these debates are there, sparkling debates. There are about 11 hagiographies, not one, but they were written centuries and centuries after he passed away. Most of them are, they are filled with legends and miraculous events. We don't want to go into that. But everyone acknowledges that, yes, he was given a boon of 16 years to live. At the end of 16 years, when it was time, Veda Vyasa, a spiritual luminary, came and debated with him to see whether he really understood the Vedanta. And then he debated Veda Vyasa. And Veda Vyasa says, you have understood it. I'm going to extend your life by another 16 years. And that's what, he got a new lease of life. So he traveled further for the next 16 years, constantly walking all the way. And he died? Well, he never died. These people, they give up their body. So at Kedarnath, they say that he merged in the deity, in the light. His body turned into light and he merged in the deity, which was light. Today we have a huge memorial there. But as I say, he was a measure of all things. And you can see how he has interpreted the Vedanta. And subsequent philosophers and saints and all, they followed his structure. There are about 300 books ascribed to him. 300. Now, these are not just ordinary books. They are like maps of consciousness. If you follow them, it will transform your consciousness. It's like, we write books and we give talks and all. These people are different. They put their own realizations in their writings. So if you follow the line of argument there, it's like you're following a map in your own consciousness. And you will get that realization. I remember one monk telling me, the first time I read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, it was a spiritual experience. And that's what it's supposed to. When you read scriptures, it is a spiritual experience. You may not actualize it now, but over and over and over again, you will find that it has led you to that. I remember when I was in the Himalayas for some time, and then we were used to sitting down and meditating, and during that time, they used to have these scriptural classes by one of the monasteries of Shankaracharya. I said, what? Why don't you go meditate? You're sitting down and reading scriptures. It was much later than I understood that this is also part of a meditation. Reading scriptures is to do it meditatively. So when he was 32, he passed away. That is what he was. And his legacy, he established 4 main monasteries in the 4 corners of India. He installed his disciples and they started a tradition. So one is at Kedarnath, in Badrinath, one is in Dwarka, one is at Puri, and one is down in Sringeri. So Ramakrishna order has got its allegiance from the mutt in Sringeri, South India. So these Shankaracharyas, and they also took on that same title, and they used to, you can say, arbiters of all scriptural disputations, etc. And once in 12 years, everybody used to gather together at what is called Kumbh Mela. And if they had any differences of opinion regarding scripture, they would discuss it. So he wrote books on yoga, a huge commentary on the yoga, on the Vedanta Sutra, on the Vedanta, Brahma Sutras, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads. And he wrote innumerable primers, like Upadesha Sahasri, Atma Bodh, etc. Like you take up these books to get a grounding in what Vedanta philosophy is, till you come down to the Upanishads. So he wrote innumerable, you can say, hymns. Sri Ramakrishna says, there was once, he got a nice lesson in his own teachings, in a way. So in Benares, and that was the place where you have to establish yourself. Buddha tried to go and try to have a debate with the scholars there. And he didn't succeed. He had to go out in Sarnath and start preaching. So he went and he got all the scholars over to his side. Then one time he was going down to the Ganges to bathe, and he was in a high spiritual mood. He saw a man with 4 dogs on a leash, saying, "Hey, get away from my path." He's saying, "You're asking me to get away from it?" He's saying, "Why don't you get away from my path?" So he looked at, who's this guy arguing with me? And he was wild looking and dirty and this and that. They're saying, "No, I will move, no, you will move. What are you talking about moving things?" And suddenly he saw that it was Shiva himself that appeared, and the 4 dogs of the 4 Vedas. And then he sang that Manisha Panchakam. His hymns on almost all deities are remarkable. The depth and clarity and the profound, you can say, depths, amazing. So he established the Vedas and the Upanishads. So he derived his philosophy of Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta. Advaita means not two. He said it's not oneness. You cannot even say that it's one. Saying it's not two. Now you think what you have to. And as the Upanishad says, Tvam Upanishadam Purusham Prichhami. So he established he's saying, the reality from the Upanishads, which can be known only through the Upanishads. And he made them the bedrock of his philosophy, because these was spiritual realization. And he started fleshing out the details. And it was wonderful. It's a wonderful philosophy. So he's saying there is a one, the Advaita, and the perception of the many. The many is illusory, the one is real. This is in brief, he says. Slokardena pravakshami. I'll tell you in a half a verse. Yaduktam grantha kotibi, that which is declared by innumerable scriptures. Brahma satyam jagat mithya. Brahman alone is real. The world is transitory. Jiva brahmaiva napar. The jiva is in reality that same Brahman. So this was his philosophy. And of course you will bring all arguments. He has taken care of all arguments for the future also. Even after 10,000 years, somebody might bring an argument against Advaita. He has handled that. So there's no question of Advaita being shaken up by or toppled by any other philosophy. What is important is he made it consonant with all the existing branches of knowledge. Today, if you take science is demolishing all the structures of religion, welcome. Not Advaita Vedanta. It's impossible. It is more scientific than science itself. In fact, science is consolidating some of the findings of Advaita Vedanta, which he had, placed. Amazing. So this is the only rationalistic philosophy that can be the future of religion. And it will be the religion of the future. There's no doubt. Swami Vivekananda says it will be the religion of the future, Advaita, where the reality is not a personal God, but an impersonal God. So when you look at this vast universe, it's so ancient, 13 or 13.8 billion years, and so vast, mind-boggling. It has taken a few billion years for the light to even come to us from those galaxies. Then you ask, if you look at it like that, where is God? What is God doing? The personal God cannot answer this question. So he brought out this impersonal idea of the Brahman, the God. Not that he was only on that level. Then what he did was, he showed that all the other systems of philosophy, the 5 systems of philosophy, were just stepping stones. He removed all the contradictory, you can say, elements in them, showed that they are just graded paths to Advaita. And that's the crowning, you can say, stone of Indian philosophy. So if you study Advaita Vedanta, you in a way study all the other 5 systems also. So that's why it's called the orthodox systems of philosophy, 6 orthodox. One system itself will take over 20 years. I've been studying Shankaracharya's works for the last 35 years. I'll tell you, it is so subtle. Let anybody, today's geniuses, try to study that. I'll give them $1 million if they can understand it at one shot. It'll take years. So subtle arguments, and you can understand how his brain was working. He will take an innocuous argument and turn it on its head and bring it out to kind of bolster his own arguments. No arguments can ever stand against him. So that was Shankaracharya. And today, as I said, he's a Colossus. Remarkable. He has established this philosophy, the philosophy for all time. Not a philosophy, because it is called darshana. Darshana means to see. Indian philosophy means to see. When I say Advaita philosophy, it means Advaita darshan. Darshan means to see. So when you follow that philosophy, you will come to a stage where you will see what you have studied. And you will attain that realization. So this was a young boy. When we were young, we used to studying these books. So one senior monk is saying, why do you want to take that little boy seriously? He just wrote some commentary, you take him seriously. Yeah. Then, of course, you are joking. But then when you understand what that little boy has written, oh my God. So it has, and you spend years and years and just trying to understand the mystical meanings of some of his writings. So as I said, he has contributed this great, you can say, thought processes for the world, for all of us. And we are ever grateful for him. And in the process, once he establishes the reality, that reality is like this, then all other systems of philosophy and religion, even dualistic religion, now gets a kind of a breather. Oh, they were being attacked. And now you can see that even the dualistic philosophies and dualistic religions, they also get a new lifeline. A lot of people say, oh, that's Advaita. You know, what is the use of Advaita? There's no morality, there's nothing. They say, no. Advaita is based on the highest morality. And he is very clear, the highest morality, because the highest morality is based on unselfishness. And if you're not like that, you can never come to Advaita Vedanta. Sri Ramakrishna harmonized all the other three levels: dualism, qualified non-dualism, and non-dualism. So he's saying these are stages of. So Sri Ramakrishna explains, see, when you see this is me and God is outside me, that's dualism. What connects? The world, of course. The Jiva Jagat Ishvara, the soul, souls, Jagat, the external world, and God. Then it goes to the higher level that they are not a triad, they are not separate souls, world, and God. They form a composite. Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara, that is the souls, the external world or the creation, and God forms a composite. They are one. And then comes Advaita, where the Jiva is removed, God is removed, and the world is removed. How can that be a philosophy? That is a philosophy. And then what is the background of all this? It is that one infinite Brahman. So it's very difficult to go straight up there. You have to take this, the first stage, the second stage, and then come down to the third stage. Okay. So he was one of my, you can say, heroes. Another hero of mine was Buddha, when he says, no, Buddha stressed the moral side of Vedanta. Many people say, oh, what Buddhism? What Buddhism? It's nothing. You know, there's somebody who's saying, Buddhism is nothing but Vedanta without a personal God. So even those ancient, you can say, philosophers, Nagarjuna and all the Buddhistic philosophers, their philosophies were taken down by Shankaracharya. If you read Mahayana Buddhism, your brain will go, kind of dizzy. So imagine reading. But he never made anything obscure. He never made anything mysterious. He made it highly intellectual. If you have that capacity, you can follow the arguments. And that is what. So he based his arguments on what you already have. Just sharpen your skills. He's saying, oh, you have to acquire something which is external to you. No, no. He based his philosophy on the real nature of the person. You're looking for what is real? Now dissect yourself. And that's how you do. You're already equipped. Oh, you need the grace of God, you need this. That's like a lottery. You may not get. So he used all these arguments, basing it on the real nature of a person. Here it is, you have this, now start your journey. So it's a journey towards liberation, moksha. And this is what he established. Your goal is to get liberated. And not only ordinary liberation, liberated in life. When you are living, you get liberated. That's the highest stage. And that's what he was. We do not know when he got his realization and what realization. He gave us a definition of what realization is. People say, no, I am realized, I'm this and that. Pit yourself against Shankaracharya's realization, then you'll know. You'll keep your mouth shut. He went through every level of realization and presented it. This is what happens at this stage, stage 1, 2, 3, 4. We stop here for questions. Om, peace, peace, peace. So you have any questions here? You can, yeah.
Could you talk a bit about the Kumbh Mela?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the Kumbh Mela. Kumbh is a pot, okay? And Mela is a fair. Like you have fairs, no? Country fairs and all that. So it's a mythological story that the gods, they tricked the demons when they had the pot of nectar, They had churned the ocean. Both of them, they had a common, you can say, mission. They churned the ocean, the immortal ocean. And finally a pot of nectar had come. But the gods were kind of, if they get a hand on this, it's going to create a big problem. But because they will become immortal, the demons. So, but there were two demons who were smart. They changed their form and appeared like gods. And they were also taking a few drops of that immortal, that nectar, because the gods were distributing it. They're saying first the gods will take it. Okay, the gods worked harder. And they were, so those two guys, demons, they said, oh, they're going to trick us. By the time the pot comes to us, it's empty. So they changed their form and they stood in the queue. And then when it comes to them, Vishnu, he cuts their head, whatever. So they had snatched the pot and they were fleeing, and a few drops of nectar fell on certain places in India. So that place has become immortal in a way. That is, whatever you do on this, especially on this particular day, becomes immortal. Your karma, your prayers or whatever. So every 12 years, there's a kind of, it's a calculation, zodiac calculation. So the sun transits in that particular zodiac, you can say, constellation, and then you have a Kumbh Mela. Now all the monks and all the nuns and all the religious people and all the people, they come. And at that auspicious moment, you're supposed to bathe in that river. Mainly it's Ganga, Ganges. So why? You get liberation there. And so the Kumbh Mela has become the greatest religious festival, where the largest gathering of humanity ever occurs. And that's held in every 12 years. So Shankaracharya used this, saying, okay, you get all of you come together and then you discuss. You iron out your differences if you have. And if you ever see that, oh my God, I've never seen so many religious people of all types. You get from the crazies to the Paramahamsas. And then people, you see, people stream for that. A whole new city, 2 cities rather, are built for that event. And you can see why people go there. They have that faith and the belief that if you bathe at this time, at this juncture, in this place, you will get liberated. So people, they go there not for some fun. It's only for liberation. And every center of any monastics or non-monastic, they have their own, you can say, huge place where they give discourses and spiritual readings are going on and bhajans are going on and over. And so it's a 1 month long festival, spiritual festival. So he started this Kumbh Mela. Any questions? Yeah.
Why is he not considered an avatar?
Yeah, the question is, why is he not considered an avatar? Yeah, he is considered an avatar. He is considered an avatar of Shiva. You see, there are parallels. Even Swami Vivekananda's mother was praying for a son. And she was praying and praying and praying, and then she was doing those austerities for years, for a year at least. And then one night she saw Shiva. He was wrapped in meditation. And then suddenly, meditation was over, takes a form of a child. And Bhubaneshwari Devi, Swami Vivekananda's mother, knew now that this child is going to be born, is going to be an aspect of Shiva. So he also he's considered an avatar. Because what? How can an ordinary human being be like that? But we look at his works like an human being. And that's what he always claimed. No, it's okay. In each one of us, we have this potential. And you just manifest it. That is the best way. So, yeah, those who are devotional, he was the incarnation of Shiva, Shiva always comes whenever there's some trouble. You have to put things in order. So that was. So the questions here. Okay, was Totapuri a student of Shankaracharya? Oh no, Shankaracharya was in the 8th century. 700, there's some who pin him down at 733. But the Britannica says the 700, Common Era. Totapuri was the guru of Sri Ramakrishna. So he was the Puri. You see the word Puri? So he was from the branch of the Puri, made by Shankaracharya. So he was a monk, and he never used to live under a roof and never used to carry an umbrella, anything like that. For him, the external world did not exist at all. However, so yes, he was from the same branch, and we also, so for us also, our lineage goes to Ramakrishna, and then from Ramakrishna, Totapuri also comes. So we are also from that same lineage. So he was, and there are these Vana, Parvata, Sagara, Giri, and Puri, and all these Saraswati, Tirtha, Aranya. These are various monastics traditions. What he did was he got them all together. And those guys were living in the forest or living somewhere here, saying, you will be called this. Okay. Though these monks and these ascetics were already existing, he just reorganized them. He wrote the rules for monasticism and all the various other mantras. He was kind of amazing. And imagine listening all this thing from a young boy. So everything, he codified everything. And without any kind of, everybody had to accept it and did it. So this modern puja that we do, it is his. Mantras, etc., everything.
There seems like there's some like, as part of like cycles, there's some sort of, is there a name for kind of like the unification that he did, or it almost seems like a parallel, like a Satyuga, like parallel.
No, yeah, it could be, but then Swami Vivekananda says this Advaita always comes up, is always rise, when there's a wave of materialism. It counters it. He's saying whenever a religion dominates in this world, materialistic waves, that's the time when Advaita makes its surfaces, Advaita surfaces. Because there will always be people who will question materialism. Then what? Then you have this philosophy. So it always takes its roots whenever there's materialism is being spread. So we have questions and we have about what is this world and what is this materialism. Everybody is going to, plunging into hedonism. Yeah, everybody wants to have a little fun. But this has been tried for the last 10,000, 12,000 or even earlier. After we have built these societies, everybody wants a little fun. And it has been tried by millions and billions of people. They have not succeeded in finding any fun in that. So there will be people, and then there will always be those who will question materialism, and then they will come to. In fact, science is now, you can say, a complement. Saying, Swamiji says that philosophy and science will join and shake hands together. And he had predicted, and this actually is coming true. Now, some of the, you can say, doctrines of how he had explained how the world is created and all. Either you take that, the traditional way of explaining things, or you take the doctrines of science or the findings of science, and they're parallels. You can find them there. He calls everything, saying, if you go down to the very atom, he speaks about atom, Anu. You go down to the very heart of atom, you will find it just empty. It's space out there. He uses that word. Today we are finding the same thing. That you go down to the heart of the atom and you open it, and everything is space inside. Nothing. It's empty. Okay. That's all. Okay, we can. Yeah.
He wrote about Upanishads, Vedas, everything is implemented. In our day-to-day life, we have a lot of slokas that he wrote, which we recite on a everyday basis. And when he gave such high truths, why did he do these things?
Yeah, that's a nice question. When he established that there's only one reality, which is Satchitananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. That is, existence is consciousness, and that is bliss. So why did he bring out all these, you can say, these dualistic, you can say, bhajans, poetry, and you can say stotras, hymns? Why did he do that? Yeah. That's why they're saying only an Advaitist can do that. You see, he had established that, but he had come for all people. He had not come for one single class of highly evolved souls. He had come for. He knew that everybody evolves and everybody needs those lower stages of, you can say, worship. At the same time, he also, when he's writing hymns about Shiva or the Durga, or you can say other goddesses, he's showing you through those hymns only that that goddess or that God is in nature, in reality, infinite. And that infinity is now appearing to you like this form for your own spiritual benefit. So all his hymns are like that. So he doesn't say Shiva, oh Shiva, is like this, and then, so, he is a limited being and he is finite. No, he's saying it's infinite. So everywhere, so these are different channels, these different aspects. He never disturbed the understanding of anybody. He never upset anybody's faith. He's saying you build up on this. So he wrote on the various rivers and the mountains, and you can gods and goddesses. Oh my God. Lalita Sahasranam, the 1,000 names of goddess, and then Vishnu Sahasranam, 1,000 names of Vishnu. Every word he's written a commentary on it. I don't know whether he actually wrote them, because his disciples, he used to go around with a huge band of disciples. Everybody wants to have a glimpse of him, of course, when you have such a person. So he used to dictate, and there were these scribes taking the. And I don't know whether they actually took it down or they memorized what. So that was what he was doing. So yeah, he had all these things. So an Advaitist can be a Vishishtadvaitist and Dvaitist also. But a Dvaitist will fight. Oh, I remember one time I was going by train, and there was a young, you can say, Russian couple. And they were in that, they had put on the Indian religious garb, and they were trying to prove to me that how religious they are. I said, yeah, okay, you've come all the way from Russia and you have taken up this religion, it's good. And then I introduced myself in the sense of, yeah, I'm from this Shankaracharya's, the Dashnami, that is the 10 orders of monks. And, oh, don't talk to him. The girl is saying, don't talk to him. He's a Mayavad. That is, he dismisses the world as Maya. I said, no, that's a misconception. We are Brahmavad. That is, we establish the one reality called Brahman. We are not interested in Maya. So Shankaracharya also was called a Mayavadin. He was also called a crypto-Buddhist. Because most of his arguments, they found that they have parallels with Buddhistic arguments. So there are all these things. So he established that one reality. He was not interested in all these things. Yes, so we can stop here for today. Oh yeah.
Just curious, like how those 10 orders were decided by. What is the difference like between a Puri and a Giri? Or
On his travels, he met a group of monks, say, and saying, what is your tradition? What are your spiritual practices? What are your mantras? Then they told him, okay, fine. And he tweaked a little their practices and saying, okay, you will be called with this name. And then they formed a kind of a group there, a big community. And they said, okay, but the overarching, you can say, philosophy is Advaita. So you have to follow this. That's what he did. So wherever he went, he found a community of monks. And then because he was the second reorganizer of monasticism. The first reorganizer was who, Buddha. Yeah. And the third reorganizer, Vivekananda. So, at the heart of the, you can say, spiritual life, if you can organize it through these, it's not only just us. He organized the whole thing. So, then everything grows up on that. So we can stop. Next Sunday, we'll take the life of Buddha. Just speaking about it will be good. That's another you can say, amazing life. But 533 years, 533 years before Christ was born, and he's still a force to be reckoned with. Shankaracharya is not so well known in the West in the sense of, who is Shankaracharya? But those who, you can say, who study philosophy, they will, oh my God. So Buddha established Vedanta through the moral and the love side of Vedanta. And he established Shankaracharya, the intellectual side. And Vivekananda harmonized both of these two together. That's the great thing. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.